6 of the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship. We are at the Autodromo Guaporé, where I do believe we had, I think it was either Jamie Snow or Brenton Foley take out a couple wins here last season. That's just going off the top of my head. I do not actually remember. But it has ticked over to qualifying. It's just ticked over to qualifying. And we're just about set to set, obviously, the qualifying order, or the grid order, obviously, with this qualifying session. So just to reiterate the championship standings, we've got, after the last round, we have Brenton Foley now in the lead, 19 points ahead. But over Brendon Ross, and they've got a considerable gap over P3 in the championship. But just hold on a second. I'm just trying to. There we are. Just sort out some issues. All right, and away we go. Mike Coulson, first car out on track for qualifying. And as you can see, just taking it nice and easy at the moment. Probably trying not to overheat the front tyres, which was an issue, I do believe, last season. And the laps I was doing out on the circuit, that front right-hand tyre does cop a fair beating. The front right will overheat. It's just how you deal with it. Another thing to look out for is also going to be how you look after them and make sure you don't overheat them. But you're also going to have to do with a bit of lift-off oversteer, which you can obviously nullify through setup options, but it is something that the drivers are going to have to deal with at turn 1 that Mike Coulson is now approaching. Is a very, very, obviously, come from 6th gear all the way down to 2nd. You can take it in 3rd, but I have found that 2nd gear is the fastest through here. So see, very long radius corner, and it does quite a heavy brake, which can unsettle the rear end on turn in. But a nice solid start to Coulston's lap, 24.5. It's not too bad in the first sector. Certainly not the worst. And then we've got the long left-hand hairpin here. Sort of have to take it in 2 chunks, the entry, or even 3 chunks, the entry, the mid, and then the exit. Once you get to the mid part of the corner and the corner starts coming back to you, that's when you nail the throttle and hold on for dear life. 50.2 in the middle sector for Mike Coulson. And looking at live races, we've got Wayne Whitmore, 24.1, fastest in the first split at the moment of the cars that are out on track. Turmo second fastest, 24.2. Coulson is actually the fastest in the middle sector so far. No, that's just been eclipsed by Bolger. 1:15.0 for Coulson. So respectable start to the obviously race weekend for him. Now I've got Turmo jump up on just by 0.08 of a second there. And Whitmore lost a bit more time. Started the lap promising, but faded as the lap went on. So he's a 10th down. And Steve Bolger, he must have made a mistake in that final sector because there it is. We've just cut to it, so we'll just roll back and, in fact, we're right on board and just see what he's done here. Yeah, just coming in a bit too late there. Ran on the marbles a little bit, then got on the grass. Almost lost the back end, but held on and was able to set a lap time. And it's not going to be the worst lap time, I don't think, but he was certainly looking the goods. We've also got Dwayne Davies out there on circuit, and he has jumped up to provisional pole position. He did set a personal best in practice of 1 minute 14.102, so he's not too far away from that. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't quite nail personal best in qualifying, but still, that is a solid benchmark and a good start to the weekend for Dwayne Davies. Just going to have a quick look around the circuit. Doesn't look like anybody is out there on the circuit at the moment. So looks like we're just going to have to wait for... Usually the FCR boys are a little bit late jumping out onto the circuit. They always do like to leave it until the last minute. So there's 4 cars that we'll be waiting on, that's for sure. So once again, just no, here we go. Brenton Foley, probably the favourite coming into tonight. It looks like Ricky Slick, looking at amsoz.liveracers.com/live. If you check that out for all your live timing needs. These two just left the pit lane and are out on the circuit. Brenton Foley looks like he's just warming the brakes at the moment, not trying to put any kind of heat into the front tyres. He's going to want them for his flying lap. Compared to Ricky Slick, as we see Brendon Ross come out of track. Ricky Slick's just looks like he's just driving a lap like normal in that rust bucket. So we'll follow him around. In fact, we're right on board. The Alabama native. The circuit has 9 corners, and Ricky Slick coming out of the final one to begin his flying lap. He set a 1 minute 14.7 as his personal best in practice. So he'll probably be hoping to, well, if he gets near that, it will certainly put him up towards the front end of the grid. He'll be wanting to beat that, that's for sure. He was getting quicker as practice went on, but he didn't look quite comfortable, at least compared to his effort at Florida last time out. Got to the first split, and he's up by pretty much a tenth of a second. 24.1 in the first split is very, very good. So now the vinyl middle sector. Oh, he hasn't got on the power as early as what you'd like there. Coming out of the hairpin. Just got Foley approaching the first split. Foley 23.9 in the first split, and Ricky Slick up another tenth. Well, we found about half a tenth or so in the middle split. So he's looking the goods at the moment. And Brendon Ross 24.3 in the first split, so he's not looking too good at the moment compared to his championship rival and teammate. Ricky Slick's had a good run out of the final corner here. This has been a solid lap. The man from Birmingham, and he goes, oh, he's lost out, tenth and a half there in that final split, so he'll start P2 provisionally, but we probably will see Brenton Foley jump up. We'll probably see Brenton Foley jump up to pole position. 2 purple sectors, and there it is, 14.0. So he couldn't match his personal best in practice, but at the moment, provisional pole, and a couple of tenths faster than Dwayne Davies. And Brendon Ross goes P5 with a 15.0. So look at that, Turmo, Mike Coulston, Whitmore, all separated by less than 0.2 of a second there. And got Gary Neville out there on a lap as well. Brownie has gone out on the track. He's the only one not to have set a time. It looks like he's had an accident in the middle sector when he did set his lap. He's got a time for the first split, but no time for his second or third. So, unfortunately, he's made a mistake and gone off, and no lap time for him. And Gary Neville, he jumps up to P4, so his hot form continues. Had some quite decent pace last time out at Florida, and I do believe he picked up his personal best result, not at the last round, but at the round before as well. So Gary Neville up to P4. But once again, championship leader Brenton Foley will start from pole position, followed by Dwayne Davies, Ricky Slick, Gary Neville, Turmo, Brendon Ross, Mike Coulston, Wayne Whitmore, and Brian Walsh, followed by Bolger and Brownie. Alright, well, we'll just take a short break, but as I conduct the drives briefing, but we shall be back with a little bit of the warm-up, but also race 1 action about 10 minutes away. Don't go away. Alright, and welcome back. So the driver's briefing has been conducted. Timer has ticked just under 5 minutes of the warm-up remaining. So that gives us just a little bit of time to go over just some key information about the championship, as well as the circuit that we'll be driving on this evening. Let's see if the game doesn't crash on me. No, it's still going. Cool. Alright, so just to bring up the championship standings, as you can see on your screen, Brenton Foley, two-time defending champion, 187. Brendon Ross, 168. Was even at the start of the last round at Floripa, round 5, but Brendon Ross just couldn't quite get to grips with the circuit. Didn't just like Brenton Foley, didn't set a great qualifying lap, but he still started in front of Brenton Foley in race 1 there, but just didn't have the pace of his championship rival and teammate. And I think he got a drive-through penalty towards the end of race 1 as well, which dropped him down quite a few, or was one of the races where it dropped him down quite a few spots compared to his teammate as well. So that's a bit of a kick in the teeth for Brendon Ross's championship hopes, but he's still close enough to strike and give Brenton Foley a bit of worry. And then the next big battle, third place in the championship, as you can see on your screen, Termo 118, Dwayne Davies 110, Ricky Slick 104, Cracker 102, and then Wayne Whitmore on 90. So the battle for third in the championship is on. You have seen Ricky Slick in recent rounds pick up, I do believe he picked up a first and a second at the last round at Floripa, so that's why he's jumped up massively in the standings. I do believe he was in the 50s coming out of Alton Park, so fantastic round for him at Floripa, has elevated him right behind Dwayne Davies and Termo. And speaking of Termo, his round at Floripa wasn't the greatest. He did struggle a little bit, did DNF the first race, which looked like a self-inflicted DNF. Going off the top of my head, he just went straight off the chicane, didn't brake at turn 1 and DNF'd, but he did pick up handy 4th place there in the second race. Dwayne Davies, he had an up and down round. He had pace, but some mistakes in both races did cost him a little bit. Did get a podium in race 1 though, but the 7th place in race 2 did cost him quite a bit there, because if he did pick up a better result there, would have found himself a couple points closer to Termo in the standings. So right behind them, we've got Cracker. So only had one DNF for the season. Did have back-to-back podiums, albeit at different rounds at Alton Park and round 3. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head which circuit that was. But anyway, second and a third place being his best results of the season. Didn't have a great round at Florida, but didn't have too much pace. He got a 7th and an 8th there. And behind them we had Wayne Whitmore, who was there. He had a DNF in race 1 and it did not start for race 2. I believe he had a game crash there in that one. And we had Steve Bolger, DNF in race 1 and 6th place in race 2. So he's sort of leading that next little pack with Mike Coulston not too far behind. Coulston probably would be ahead of Steve Bolger, but he was in back home in England and was absent for the last round at Floripa. And then you have Brownie, who's been quite consistent actually throughout the year. He has had a couple DNFs, but did get some nice 5th places at Floripa, and that's elevated him above Gary Neville, who did pick up a 4th place at the first race at Floripa, but couldn't back up that result in the second race, despite being in a pretty good position early on there. And then we have Glenn Miles, who isn't here tonight. He had attended every other round prior to this, but not here this evening, which is a bit of a shame. But hopefully we see him back for the next round. And then behind him in the championship line, Mitch, he made one appearance, a first and a second, 45 points. And that's him. And then River Whisper is here for 2 rounds on 23, and Brian Walsh on 21. He's missed 3 rounds, or 2 rounds I should say. But it's good to have him back and out there. there. Alright, going over the team championship points. After a fantastic round for Team Scouse there, they've moved up from well down the standings. They were below Flat Spot, Cracker Racing and Irwin Racing, and I also believe they may have even been behind D2 Racing as well, but they've jumped up now to second in the championship. Flat Spot jumped down behind Cracker Racing team as well after their poor showing in the last one. And then Irwin Racing has, even though they picked up points in the last one, they didn't pick up enough, so that's dropped them to behind that little pack there. So interesting battle in the teams championship as well there for second place in the championship. Has ticked over to the race session, but we'll just go over the circuit for you. That is the track map. As you can see, just a hair over 3 kilometres. This circuit, 9 turns, 5 left, 4 right, and there's the format. 2 races, second race reverse grid for those that finish, and both being 25 minutes plus an additional lap. So as you can see, turn 1, difficult one, the hairpin as well. Fairly difficult. The flat out corner, well, the turn right after the hairpin is flat out, and then S. It's also the left hand in particular. We did see some action there last season as well. Alright, so the drivers now formed up. The formation lap has begun. And as you can see on your screen, and as you saw in qualifying, Brenton Foley will lead the field away from pole position once again. And then we've got Dwayne Davies in hot form of late. He's right behind him. He'll be hoping to pick up some better results than what he did last time out. But the pace is certainly there. And then we've got Ricky Slick starting in third place. Wasn't the most comfortable in practice, but set a decent lap time, as you can see, in qualifying. Didn't make a mistake. He'll start in third place in front of his Team Scouse teammate Gary Neville in fourth, who did a fine job. One of his better efforts in qualifying for the season. In fact, the series, or any of the seasons so far. And we have Turmo in P5 for Irwin Racing. Brendon Ross, disappointing qualifying effort from him. He's going to have to dig deep and fight his way up through the field, and we'll see not lose out too many points to Brenton Foley. But it will be a tall order because he hasn't been too quick around. Well, he's been okay around here in practice, but he's not been the fastest. They've got Mike Coulston there, P7. So decent lap time. That midfield's going to be very interesting with, I think there's about 2 tenths covering about 4 or 5 cars there. Mike Coulston being amongst that, with Wayne Whitmore in 8th place. Brian Wolf setting a pretty decent time. He's not too far away either. He starts in P9. Steve Bolger made a mistake in the final sector, which dropped him down the field. He'll start 10th, with Cracker starting in 12th. Now, the drivers are to remain at 80 kilometers per hour until the start-finish line right here. And away we go. So Brenton Foley, a little bit of a gap over Dwayne Davies, but Dwayne Davies does have the inside into turn 1. But Foley holds on. Slick looking to go around the outside. Looks like Turmo's dropped back a couple spots, or he's dropped back past Brendon Ross, and Ross having to look up the inside of Gary Neville. So Turmo down 1, Brendon Ross up 1. That's vital for him. Mike Coulston now having a look up the inside of Turmo. And he's going to get it. No, he's not going to get that job done. No, he is. Or at least, yes, he is. That said, though, looks like Turmo trying to take the old go-kart line around the outside, he's cambered a little bit around that hairpin. But, as you see, Coulston, he's run wide on the exit, he's kept his foot in it, so he hasn't spun it, but he's got out of it now, and he's going to end up in the barriers here. He's clipped it just a little bit. Engine is still running, though, but big shame for him. That's dropped him down the field. And he was looking all right. And actually got Cracker also well down the field, so what's happened to him? He's even before the hairpin, so something's happened to him Out of the hairpin. So he's just lost it on his own there. So cracking down the field. Coulson unfortunately back down to last. The front three have made a little bit of a break over Gary Neville in 4th place. So there's the front three. Foley, Davies, Slick. And then we got Gary Neville, Brendon Ross, Turmo. As you see, Bulge on the grass there. Wayne Whitmore, Brian Walsh, Brownie, and then Steve Bolger. At the front though, Wayne Davies keeping Brenton Foley honest. So we see Brownie just holding the inside line there at the hairpin. Big thing to look out for will be tyre wear later on in the race. Did see drivers struggle with it last season. And the front right in particular, it does sit at around 115 degrees throughout the middle part of the, in fact, probably even a little bit higher. Towards the end of the lap, when you come out of the final corner, it approaches 118 degrees as Foley sets, well, that's better than the pole time. 1 minute 14.0, well, dead. And a 14.2 for Davies, 14.3 for Slick, which is actually a personal best for him as he locks up into turn 1, but he's still not too far away from Davies, but the front two are starting to edge away from him just a little bit. And Brendon Ross has got past Gary Neville, and now Turmo right on the back of the number 46 FCR Motorsport Team Scrouse Toyota Corolla. So we'll just have a look here. So it's happened before turn 1. And now Rossi's got 2.5 seconds of Ricky Slick in front to close down. So he hasn't had a clean lap so far. Bit of a lock up. A bit of a slide. So he's starting now to edge just a little bit away from Gary Neville, who's starting to look more and more in his mirrors with Turmo right there behind him. 14.3 for Davies at the front, 14.5 for Foley, so that gap half a second now. Ricky Slick just holding on, but he's just 1.5 seconds away from Brenton Foley in the lead. So there is the top 6. Looks like Whitmore, looking at live timing, it's got past Brian Walsh as we see Brownie running wide at turn 1 there. He's front right's not going to like that too much, and Steve Bolger isn't able to get past them. So Steve Bolger in practice set a 14.2, obviously couldn't replicate that in qualifying, and then in the race so far he's struggled to get past Brownie and Brian Walsh. Brian Walsh doing a pretty solid job at the moment, up there in 8th place, keeping Brownie and Steve Bolger behind. So fair effort from him. He'll be hoping to keep that form going as someone has had a massive lock-up coming into S there. Stick with this battle for now. So there's no change really in the gaps at the front. Oh, looks like Steve Bolger making a move on Brownie. Should get that done. Brownie will have the slipstream, and he's got 20 less kilos than Steve Bolger, who's carrying 20 kilos of success ballast. And Bolger up the inside, he gets it done for now. It's Brownie not one to give it up. He's still right there. It looks like Whitmore might have made a mistake at turn 1 there, because he's starting to flash into our screen just a little bit. We did see a little bit of smoke, and looks like he's made another lock up there into the hairpin. He's 4 seconds up the road, and looks like Turmo has got past Gary Neville. So just cut to replay and see what's happened there. Alright, so looks like on the exit of turn 1, Gary Neville just too aggressive on the throttle and onto the grass, and Turmo just goes around the outside there at turn 2. And back live, Gary Neville not too far away. And, oh, Steve Bolt just had it off. He has had it off as we were looking at the replay. So he's right behind Brian Walsh here. Oh, a little bit of contact around the outside there. Brownie. Looks like, oh, he's tried to make a move on Brian Walsh. Well, maybe half move, but Brian Walsh sort of awkwardly in the way, and Bolger had to avoid him. So unfortunately for Bolger, he's going to have to get back past Brownie, who has got past Brian Walsh finally. Brian Walsh trying to get him on the switch back into the hairpin. Did see him pull off some really aggressive racing in the Rookie Cup in the minis at Yakarapagua. I believe that was one of the races, and there was another one too where Brian Walsh really did a really solid job. Was really aggressive, but also clean at the same time. Trying to do the same thing. That's what he did then to Brownie, but didn't make it stick. But Brownie has made a mistake, and then Walsh has just sent it up the inside at the final turn, and he's got the job done. That's at the lead though, 0.2 of a second between Davies and Foley at the start-finish line. Ricky Slick is also right there. So the front three starting to compress just a little bit. 15.4 for Foley on that last lap. 15.5 for Davies. Ricky Slick 14.8. And Brendon Ross is closing in. A 14.5 for him. A 14.6 for Turmo. 14.5 dead for Gary Neville. So those guys not too far apart on the road. They're all travelling quite nicely as well. So yeah, they've not really separated. After that little mistake that's allowed Turmo to get by, Gary Neville's been nice and consistent. Actually, well, that was 2 laps ago, so it's not really all that consistent. That said, though, it looks like they've dropped a little bit of time on this lap. The front two being the quickest in the middle sector. So Turmo hasn't had a good final sector. Gary Neville is right there. He's in the slipstream. He's not going to be close enough into turn one. It's a bit too fast to make a move unless you're right behind the driver you're battling. But he's got off the throttle for just a little bit too long there. Lost the back end and lost that momentum. So that's allowed Turmo just to get away a little bit. Now Turmo can focus just a little bit more on Brendon Ross in front. And not so much on Gary Neville behind. So at the front there looks like Ricky Slick hasn't had a good lap last time at 15.6, so he made a mistake. Can't tell you where he did it because the sectors have reset. But it's dropped him 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds behind Dwayne Davies in front of him. So you see a bit of unweighted tyre bouncing across the tarmac there for Brenton Foley. So a bit of smoke puffing about there and a bit of a slide there at the final turn. So he's not driving the smoothest we've seen him, and Dwayne Davies looking quite racy at the moment. He's not letting Foley get away. 14.1 for Davies on that lap. Purple middle sector as well. And he was 0.2 faster in the final sector. Foley did set a faster lap though. He set a 14.084 compared to a 14.137. But Davies lost 0.3 in that first split, but he's faster in the final two. That's why he's now right behind him once again. In fact, this is probably the closest he's been all race long at the moment. He's right there. He's just got to put together another good couple middle and final sector. And he might be close enough coming out of the final corner where he does look a bit stronger than Brenton Foley. And we could see him make a move into turn one. A little bit of a slide there for Foley. If Dwayne Davies just sets him up nicely here, if he thinks about the exit just a little bit more, he will be in for a chance. That's a little bit of a slide there. It's going to cost Davies. And Foley in front using all the road and all the curb there. Didn't go over too far onto the grass, but Dwayne Davies is right there. So having a look into turn 1. He's not going to be close enough, but Foley does give him the room. He is leading the championship, doesn't want DNF, and that wall is right there as well. But Foley holds on around the outside, has the inside for turn 2, but Davies will try and get a better exit. He's got a much better exit. He's got nowhere to go though. He's a little curve in the road there. And Davies had to get out of it just a little bit. And now he's going to have to set that move up once again. Looks like Steve Bolger has caught up to the back of Brian Walsh and got past. And he's only about 2 seconds behind Brownie. But we will still stick with this battle for the lead. Sisu not giving an inch. Will be interesting to see a couple minutes to go who's got the most front tyres left. Dwayne Davis, a bit of a slide in that final quarter. Might have actually helped him just a little bit get on the power a little bit earlier. And he's got a good exit out of the final corner once again. In fact, he might even be close enough to send it up the inside. He's definitely closer than last time. He's having a look. Brakes a little bit later than Foley. Foley gives him the room. Davies as late as he can on the brake, side by side. Davies, does he get it done or does Foley? No, Foley's on the throttle, trying to hold on around the outside. He's got the inside for 2, but Davies is too far ahead for now. But he's run wide at turn 2. It's going to give Foley a better exit out of turn 2. But once again, now Davies has the inside for the hairpin. And he should hold on from here. But Foley will be using all that camber at the hairpin to try and hold on, but he cannot. And Davies now into the lead, but now he's going to be the one punching a bit of a hole in the air for Brenton Foley's Toyota Corolla in behind. And behind them, Ricky Slick hasn't had a good couple laps because he's dropped further back now. He's 4.2 behind the battle for the lead. In fact, he's only 1.4 now in front of Brendon Ross, who's got Turmo right behind him in P5. Gary Neville, even though he's down 2 spots from re-qualified, he's doing a pretty solid job at the moment. He's keeping Turmo and Ross honest. So his form of late certainly is on the up. Hopefully it continues. And behind them, Wayne Whitmore out on his own. 8.2 seconds behind the Brendon Ross Turmo Gary Neville battle. And he's 6.7 seconds in front of Browning. We've had a change for the lead as well. So what's happened here? So coming out of the final turn, Foley, well, he's losing ground to Dwayne Davies in front. If I had to hazard a guess, I reckon Dwayne Davies has run wide at the exit of turn 1. No, he's just outbroke himself a little bit, and there we go. So back in the lead is Brenton Foley, only lost it for a lap. So Dwayne Davies does want it back. Once again, right on the championship leaders bumper. Does like to take that wider line through the mid part and then turn in. Gets on the power nice and early. He's had to sort of get out of the throttle just a little bit there, so it has balked him a little bit, but he should get the move done from here. He's closer than what he was when he made the pass for the lead earlier, but he's decided to back out of it for now. In fact, he's slowed down and gone into neutral, so he's having to pull off. So what's happened to Dwayne Davies? So perhaps something wrong with his computer or something like that, but he's pulled to the inside of the track, and the battle for the lead is unfortunately over. So we'll have to find out what happened to him after the race concludes. But as you can see, Dwayne Davies in the infield. Looks like he's going to try and keep going. Perhaps he's had a knock at the door or something like that. He's had to go answer the phone or something. But unfortunately, the battle for the lead is done. And that's going to give Brenton Foley probably a win from here. So you see now Steve Bolger up the inside of Brown. He's been duking it out for the first couple corners of this lap. Up the inside. Bolger, he should be able to get it done. Everyone that has been up the inside at that point has got the move to stick, and Steve Bolger continues that trend. So just see if Dwayne Davies, yes, Dwayne Davies just got going again, so he's all the way back now. Cracker was 52 seconds behind the race lead, so fortunate for Dwayne Davies. Now Brenton Foley can just take it easy. Got 4.5 seconds over Ricky Slick. So barring some kind of internet drama or drastic mistake, Brenton Foley should take this one. Unfortunately, battle for the lead done and dusted, so he can cruise from here. It's the big battle now is going to be for second place. Ricky Slick has, I'd assume, I reckon his tyres have started to go off, as well as just one or two mistakes have just crept in just a little bit, and now, as you can see, Brendon Ross under a second behind him. Turmo is right there as well, as is Gary Neville, so a slight mistake, and Ricky Slick could drop down to 5th place. So just looking at the lap times, everybody in the 1 minute 15s, well, the fastest time was the 1 minute 15.027. That was by Brendon Ross, and Turmo set at 1 minute 15.092. So not much between those two, but all the top 6 all in the 1 minute, or top 7 in fact, all in the 1 minute 15s. And as Brenton Foley crossed the line on the last lap, he set a 1:14.7. So once again, he's gone and extended that lead on the last lap. So this race, fortunately for the lead, looks like it's over. It's Ricky Slick on that last one. 1 minute 15.045 was 400ths faster than Brendon Ross. So Slick found a little bit of pace on that last lap, but probably want to find a little bit more if he wants to hold on to P2. So he's just inching away now, is Ricky Slick. In fact, Brendon Ross is starting to have to concentrate in his mirrors just a little bit more, because he's got Turmo right behind him, and Gary Neville also is closed right in. So perhaps a little mistake here or there on this in the middle sector, in the final sector, that last lap has allowed them to close right up. It's right on board Turmo, 15.3 him on that last lap. No mistakes, at least no massive ones. He's actually slightly faster in the final sector than Turmo was Brendon Ross in the final sector, but as you can see, a bit of sliding there for Brendon Ross, and Turmo is right there. And from here, you just want to be nice and smooth. 5 minutes remaining, you don't want to lean on that front right too much, and we have had our first retirement, unfortunately. So we'll try and cut to Brownie and see what's happened here. Oh, looks like he's ended up in the barrier. So coming into S, and he's coming way too hot, and bang, straight into the barrier. Looks like he's got suspension damage, and that's his race one done, unfortunately. But back to the battle for 3rd place, and Turmo is right there this time, as is Gary Neville. Immediately on the exit of the corner, Brendon Ross moves to the middle of the road, but Turmo missed a shift, hit the limiter, and that's going to allow Gary Neville to have a look up the inside, and he gets the job done. Almost careens into the back of his FCR teammate there, but he's got the job done, didn't hit his teammate. So job well done. Gary Neville back up to where he started in P4. Good run for him. And now he's eyeing off a podium instead of Turmo. That said, though, Turmo's had a good run out of turn 2. He's close enough to remove, sides against it. It's Brendon Ross now 1.7 behind Ricky Slick, and that gap was under a second. About 2 laps ago. Gary Neville looked like he was going to run really wide there, but he's just using a little bit more of the road. Oh, and a little bit of a slide for Brendon Ross in front there at S. I would say that Turmo probably is a little bit faster than Gary Neville, but Neville was able to get that move done. Didn't make as big a mistake there in missing a shift. And now Turmo Looks like he's going to try and get that position back. This is a drag into turn 1. He has got the overlap and is on the inside into turn 1. Gets the job done. Gary Neville leaves in the room. No contact made. Which is good to see. And Turmo now. Oh, as you see, Neville pushed too hard on the exit once again. He did do that earlier in the race. And it looks like Brendon Ross has made a mistake as well. And now Turmo right behind him. But he's not going to be close enough to steal the inside line into the hairpin. And now he's going to have to go around the outside, which he's not going to be able to do at the hairpin. Perhaps should have tried getting the power a little bit earlier and getting Ross on the switchback. That's it though, he's still got a good exit. But S, which is after this right-hander here, isn't an easy place to pass, as we saw last season with a bit of contact being made. And Ross has to go a little bit defensive. That is going to compromise him. And now Turmo can start to think of setting him up for the final, for the run out of the final corner and into turn 1, which he has done. He's just tried to get that better exit by coming in for a little bit wider. He's got on the power a little bit earlier. And provided he doesn't miss a shift, he's not actually going into the slipstream, which is a bit of a surprise, while Gary Neville behind is, and he's gaining. And Turmo not trying to go up the inside and get the move done. In fact, Gary Neville having a look up the inside. Still on the outside is Turmo. Turmo holds on for now. Still alright behind Ross, but up on the grass there, using all the curb and a little bit more. At turn 2's Turmo. He's still alright there. He'll be hoping just from another little mistake for Brendon Ross, or for Ross to go defensive into S once again and then just set him up into turn 1. So Ross once again just a little bit defensive. That is going to compromise him. Turmo trying to get those wider turn-in points and set himself up for the exits. He's had to get out of the throttle there just a little bit in the final corner, but he's now right behind Brendon Ross. And again, he doesn't stick in the slipstream and he goes to the outside for turn 1, so perhaps he's just waiting for the final lap and then he'll make his move. But just a little bit timid from there. And once again, he's going to try and go around the outside. Has broken very, very late. And in fact, he's gone too late. Now Gary Neville having a look up the inside as he switched to helicam. And Neville trying to go around the outside. A little bit of contact there. A little bit of contact again. That shouldn't alter the position too much, but that gives Brendon Ross just a little bit of breathing space. Behind them though, Steve Bolger has got past Brian Walsh, as well as Brownie, who has retired. And it's actually 3 seconds or so behind Wayne Mootmore. So, well, not having the greatest run, but Steve Bolger's put in some solid laps of late. Best lap of a 14.6, so he'll be hoping to emulate that and his late race pace. As we see once again, Ross defensive into S, and Turmo going to try and set him up. The next lap should be the final one, and it is, as you can see on the top left-hand corner of your screen. So Brenton Foley has started the final lap of the race. Once again, very early, Brendon Ross straight to the middle of the road. Turmo isn't going to use the slipstream, while Gary Neville in behind is. And Turmo going to have to go the long way. Gary Neville very, very late on the brakes. In fact, I don't know if he gave Brendon Ross a bit of a nudge, but there would have been a cigarette paper between them. And that late braking manoeuvre has got him back up to P4. Now Turmo going to have to go around the outside at turn 2. He can't get it done. Might have been a little bit of contact with Gary Neville there, but a fantastic opportunistic move from Gary Neville, and just very, very timid driving from Turmo. And up the inside goes Gary Neville on Brendon Ross, so that will have implications for the championship. But Neville just a little bit too hot coming in, or getting on the power, understeered too much, and Ross now back up into third place. But Gary Neville looking for his first podium of the season. His best result is a 4th place in the first race last time out at Floripa. Wanted to take the podium. He's not going to be able to do it barring mistake. And now Turmo trying to go up the inside through S. Neville has the inside. Unfortunately for us, well, for Brenton Foley, we haven't picked him up to take the race win. We've been enthralled with this battle for the final spot on the podium. Brendon Ross will take it. Gary Neville will be in 4th place where he started, and Turmo will be 5th. Brenton Foley did take the win, as you saw on your screen, 6.7 seconds in front of Ricky Slick. So Slick was able to break away from the battle for 3rd there towards the end as they battled hard, but some nice hard driving, opportunistic driving from Gary Neville. Got that 4th place there on the final lap over Turmo, who probably should have gone into the slipstream and tried to make a move on Brendon Ross, but just didn't seem to want the podium. Wayne Whitmore finished a bit of a distant 6th place, 8.7 behind Turmo in 5th, but Steve Bolger was closing pretty quickly. Recovering Steve Bolger finishing in 7th place, 3 places better than where he qualified, but he was much higher up in the race. Or he could have been much higher up in the race with the pace that he was showing. Brian Walsh, 8th place. He showed some decent pace in that race as well. Best lap of a 15.4. He'll be hoping to crack a few more 15s in the next one, but solid 8th place for him. That is his best place finish of the season. 8th place for him. His previous best was 10th at race 2 of the season at Goiânia. Mike Coulston in 9th place. He'll be hoping to he'll be hoping to hit the reset button for the next one and pick up a better result next time. And then Dwayne Davies, you don't know what happened there. He just pulled over when he was right behind Brenton Foley there with about I think it was 6 or 7 minutes remaining. Just pulled over to the infield at turn 1 and just waited there for 52 seconds or so. So if you don't know what happened there, perhaps a phone call or had to answer the door, but he would finish in 10th place. Cracker in 11th, we didn't see much of him, so don't know what happened there. His fastest was a 15.9, so he's just struggling just a little bit here, but he did finish and will start from the front in race 2. And then Brownie, the only retirement of race 1. So that's race 1 done and dusted. We'll take a short break as we sort through the reverse grid, but we should be back for race 2 in about 10 or so minutes. See you then. Alrighty, and welcome back. Got about 2 minutes left of the warm-up session. We'll try and go through an updated points scenario for you guys. I just got to manually put that in, so just bear with me for a moment. But obviously, with that, Brenton Foley will extend his lead in the championship. He moves to 212 points, while Brendon Ross moves to 184. He's now 8 points behind Brenton Foley. Turmo, who was in 30, moves to 130. Dwayne Davies, he would have jumped up to 130 himself, so he would have jumped up ahead of Turmo in the standings had he not had to pull over for whatever reason. But despite that, he finished 10th and picked up a few points, so he's now on 116. Ricky Slick, he moves up now to 4th place in the championship on 124 points. Cracker, he moves up. Well, he doesn't really move up, but he picks up 5 points for 11th place there. And Wayne Whitmore, he picks up 10 points for his 6th place. So he's now on 100 points. And the change in championship order is Ricky Slick moving up now. See now into 4th place. Steve Bolger moving to 82 points. Mike Coulston moves to 71. It'll be interesting to see Gary Neville finishing in 4th place. That moves him from 56 points to 70. So he's now 1 point behind fellow Englishman Mike Coulston. And that moves him up in front of Brownie in the championship. He's only 12 points behind Steve Bolger as well. So that'll be an interesting fight as well developing on the... So yeah, nice little battle between Bolger, Coulston, and now Gary Neville. Obviously, Glenn Miles not here this evening, and Brian Walsh, he picked up a personal best not a personal best, but a season best for him, 8th place. So he moves from 21 points to 29, so that moves him in front of River Whisper. Anyway, as you heard in the background, that means we're just about to go racing. And just to go over, we will just go over the reverse grid. So the rule for that is to be eligible, you do need to finish race 1. So even if you ran out of fuel or crashed just before the start-finish line, if you don't cross the start-finish line on the final lap and finish, you are not eligible. So you will start from where you DNF from in whatever order that is, depending on if there's other non-finishers as well. But those that do finish are eligible, and Cracker will be the one starting from pole position for race 2 this evening. Alongside him, Dwayne Davies, he started on the front row in race 1. But as we saw, he pulled over mid-race there for 50 seconds for whatever reason, while battling for the lead with Brenton Foley. So this gives him a golden opportunity to take a win. All he's got to do really is take the lead over Cracker early on and then just extend the lead, because I'm sure Brenton Foley will be battling his way through the field. Mike Coulston with the Nigel Mansell helmet for Flat Spot Racing. He will start from P3 with Brian Walsh alongside him on the 2nd row, starting from 4th. Behind him, Steve Bolger, he'll be one to look out for. He might be a thorn in the side for a number of the drivers, the quicker drivers, because he was showing some impressive pace towards the end of race 1 there. So he's certainly one to look out for, but as we've seen in many series, race starts has been, and just little mistakes cost him dearly. So hopefully he can put together a nice solid race, but he'll be starting in 5th place. And Wayne Whitmore, the other flat spot racing car, he'll be starting in P6. And we've got really another one. This is where the front runners starting to come in. So we've got Turmo in P7. With Gary Neville starting in 8th place. Brendon Ross in 9th. Ricky Slick to start in 10th place. Followed by Brenton Foley, our race 1 winner. He'll be starting in 11th place with Brownie. Only non-finisher from the first race starting at the back. So a Cracker Racing team starting from first and from last in this one. Now the drivers are to wait not for that line, but the one coming. And away we go. So Cracker leads away. Dwayne Davies looking up the inside again. He might be close enough for a move actually, and he is. So straight away Dwayne Davies in the lead. And Mike Coulston having a look up the inside of Cracker as well. It looks like line astern at the, well, not line astern, but not too many places have changed. See Coulston having a look up the inside there of Wayne Whitmore. Brian Walsh and Bolger side by side going into the hairpin. Brian Walsh very late on the brakes, almost running it into the back of Mike Coulston. He's run wide there, getting on the power, giving the left door of Bolger a bit of a bang. And there's Turmo giving Bolger a bit of a bump draft and a bit of a bang up the bumper. But Brian Walsh trying to hold on around the outside and make a move into S. It's late on the brakes. He's turned in, he's made that move. He might have given a slight nudge to Coulston in front, but that balked Bolger behind the most. And Bolger gave him a bit of a nudge, and you can see a little bit of panel damage on his front bumper, and that dropped him behind Turmo now. Behind him, Wayne Whitmore's got Ricky Slick right behind him. So we've got Slick having a look, we've got Bolger having a look, and we've got Turmo getting past Brian Walsh into P4 now. And now Bolger having a look up the inside into turn 1. Walsh very late on the brakes, but he's around the outside. Bolger gets the job done. Ricky Slick has got past Whitmore now, but Whitmore might have given Ricky Slick a little bit of a nudge there. Looks like Brenton Foley in the back there has got past both his teammates. And we've had Brownie already DNF, so that's a bit of a shame. Looks like maybe a little bit of contact between Bolger and Slick there. Walsh trying to go around the outside. He's got a little bit of a serve from Whitmore, and now Brenton Foley has gotten past both of them and into 7th place. As you see, Ricky Slick trying to go around the outside, the flat-out right-hander, and set himself up for the inside at S. As you see, Brian Walsh go wide. He's on the grass. Hopefully he backs out of it. Otherwise, he's going to end up T-boning someone into the next corner. And he's just avoided it, and hopefully he avoids the wall. But he was, well, it looked like he was he's going duck hunting and lining someone up there. As you see, Whitmore passed by Brendon Ross. A little bit of contact there. Brenton Foley right behind Steve Bolger, who is trying to make a move past Cracker, who did start from the front row, and he does get it done. And Foley also having a look up the inside. Mike Coulston in 3rd place. He's got Ricky Slick right behind him. He's not let Turmo get too far away. I do apologise not being able to keep up with it. It's, Ricky Slick sends it up the inside. Coulston now trying to get him on the switchback, but he's not close enough. Behind them, Brenton Foley is forcing Bolger to go defensive into the hairpin. We haven't seen anyone go around the outside around here, but Foley looks like he might get the job done. He is a lot later on the brace and got it turned in, and it stayed there. So Foley, nice move around the outside at the hairpin. It's the first time this evening that we've seen someone make it stick around there. Instead of sticking around the outside, he tried to get to the inside as much as he could without balking or making contact with Bolger, and he was able to make the move stick. So fantastic driving from our championship leader and 2-time defending champion. Behind him now, behind Bolger now, Gary Neville trying to make a move on Steve Bolger, who always seems to be a little bit vulnerable on these early laps. So see D2 set the fastest lap of the race of 14.6. Now Gary Neville having a look, trying to make the move stick. Bolger also very late on the brakes, but is a very long radius corner. It's going to be difficult for Bolger. He hasn't got the overlap, and that will mean Neville up into P6 now. So nice job, Gary Neville, following his teammate through. As we see Ricky Slick making a move on Turmo. Up the inside at the hairpin, and he gets it done. In fact, we'll just cut back to a replay for a moment. We'll just see where this move initiated. So Ricky Slick getting the job done initially into turn 1, and then they battled throughout the rest of the first sector. Did Ricky Slick and Turmo. So Turmo tried to hold on around the outside of turn 1, and then Ricky Slick holding on around the outside of turn 2 and finishing the job. So good driving from the Alabama native. Back live though. And Slick going defensive down the main straight. Dwayne Davies is gone. He's 5.8 seconds in front of the Turmo Slick battle. Looked like Turmo was actually in front at the at some point towards the end of that lap there, but we didn't see because we're looking at replays. Brenton Foley trying to make a move on Mike Coulson, gives him a bit of a nudge and sends him a little bit wide. Hopefully he doesn't slow Coulson down. That's Coulson now having to go defensive into the hairpin. Foley going to try and do what he did to Steve Bolger, but Coulson having none of it. It looks like Ricky Slick at the moment just holding up Turmo, who's now starting to fall into the clutches of Mike Coulson and Brenton Foley, and Gary Neville also starting to close as well. Behind him, Steve Bolger, he's got Brendon Ross right behind him. Ross needs to get past him as soon as possible, because he's going to need to get in front of Brenton Foley if he wants to stay in touch in the championship. So as you can see, he's using all the track and did a little bit of grass as well. Doing a little bit of lawn mowing for the Brazilian government. He has got a good run now. He should get the job done. And in fact, right behind Whitmore, so picking up a good tow from the Renault Fluence of Steve Bolger. So Brendon Ross now up into P7, and Whitmore trying to get something done on Steve Bolger in front. He's struggling just a little bit at the moment. So it looks like now back up at the front. Obviously Dwayne Davies still stretching away a little bit from Ricky Slick, but Ricky Slick's pulled a little bit of a gap over Turmo now, and Turmo is having to deal with Brenton Foley in behind, who has got past Mike Coulson. Fastest lap, Dwayne Davies 14.2. He's travelling quite nicely at the moment. Only man in the 14s at the moment. Although it wouldn't surprise me if we see Brenton Foley in there if he gets a bit of clear air. And, poor final sector from Ricky Slick. It's a good half a second slower than Turmo in the final sector. So if I had to hazard a guess, going through S, which is the left-right before the final corner, if I had to hazard a guess, Ricky Slick may have made a mistake through there, and that's allowed Turmo to close the gap right up. But looks like on this lap so far, Slick is starting to edge just away once again. Brenton Foley, though, is still on the bumper of Turmo. Now, there is a weight difference between these two. I do believe Turmo is on 40 kilos compared to 80 kilos of Foley. Foley's got a good overlap coming out of the fast left-hander. Now he's got the inside line for S, and he's got the job done. Turmo's not giving it up or making it easy, but he has to yield in the end, as you see a big slide from Ricky Slick coming into the entry of the final corner, but it might have actually set him up for a decent exit. And immediately, Foley behind, going defensive. Probably picked up some information last race that Turmo wasn't one to jump into the slipstream of the car in front. He Once again, he didn't use it. And a big slide once again for Ricky Slick. A little bit of a slide for Brenton Foley as well in behind. This group is getting bigger and bigger. So there is Ricky Slick, Brenton Foley, Termo, Gary Neville, and Mike Coulston is also having a very solid run. Then there's Brendon Ross, Steve Bolger, and Wayne Whitmore still battling it out. Cracker, he isn't too far either, so he could pick up a few spots with a mistake or two as well. And then in behind, you can see Brian Walsh, who's a bit all over the road there. Don't know what he's doing. Wake up, Walshy. But way out in front. See Dwayne Davies, 7.5 seconds in front of Ricky Slick, who has set a purple middle sector, has to be said. So this lap at least is about a tenth or so faster than Dwayne Davies in front. So you could see Ricky Slick's first 1 minute 14 of the race. And there it is. In fact, he's second. So he has set a 1 minute 14. My mistake. Just haven't seen too many of them compared to the first race. So the first three all in the 14. So 14.8 for Davies, 14.9 for Ricky Slick, and a 14.871 for Brenton Foley. And once again, we saw Ricky Slick. It seems to be the FCR drivers. If they have someone behind them coming out of that final corner, they're just pulling over to the left-hand side to try and break the toe from the car behind. And we saw obviously Ricky Slick doing it there. We saw Brendon Ross doing it quite a bit in race 1 as well, with Termo just not following him at all. But, and we've had Gary Neville has got past Termo, so we'll cut to a replay of that. We'll just have a look. So on the replay, that's coming out of turn 2 and into the hairpin. So Termo is ahead here. And Neville is just sent it up the inside by the look of it. Yes, he has. And can't really hold on around the outside. Termo did try, but would have just ran out of road on the exit. But Termo is right behind Gary Neville now. And the main straight is a cut live. And he's going to make the move sick. He didn't do that when he was trying to get onto the podium. A little bit of contact between himself and Neville. Forces Neville a little bit wide, but that's allowed Coulston now right up the back as we see Neville very, very wide. It's going to balk Termo, and that could give Coulston a good run at both of them going into the hairpin. In fact, we'll jump on board. Yeah, a little bit of contact between the two, between Termo and Neville in front. So Coulston, he's got a great view of the fireworks, and then further up the road, we see Termo very late on the brakes, trying to do what Foley did to bulge early on, and then both of them, both Foley and Neville on the power a little bit too early, and both running wide, and then Coulston a decent run. He's going to try and go around the outside of Termo as Neville moves up, and in fact Coulston lifts out of it, thinks better of it, which is smart because, by the way, Termo went over the grass there. He probably would have wiped that Coulston had he been there. Coulston almost running up into the back of Termo, under braking. He's sort of balked a little bit from Gary Neville, who's wide, as is Termo. But Termo was able to get the front of the car tucked in and get on the power early. Neville goes defensive, and Termo not going with him. So once again, Termo not using that slipstream, and he's going to have to go around the long way at turn 1. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Mike Coulston in behind, who has a look, does brake a little bit later, and thinks about sticking his nose up the inside, but not quite close enough. And this has allowed Brendon Ross to ease up a little bit as well. In front of them, Brenton Foley right behind Ricky Slick now as well. So we've got a couple battles. Well, we've got 3 battles really, because we've got this one for second place. We've got this one between Gary Neville, Termo and Coulston for 4th place, and then we've got Bolger and Whitmore continuing to duke it out as well for 8th place. So you see, once again, Termo a little bit defensive coming out of the hairpin. Oh, we've had a change of position, so side by side, Ricky Slick and Brenton Foley. Foley looks like he's going to try and set up a decent run now out of the final corner, but both Foley and Slick very late on the brakes with unweighted tyre just bouncing across the tarmac with kicking up smoke, and a little bit of There's shades of Hamilton at, I think it was Malaysia, with Vitaly Petrov behind him, trying to break the toe and almost caused Foley to lose the back end and have a bit of a spin on the main straight there. That would have been embarrassing and would have turned the championship upside down there. But it's enabled Ricky Slick to hold on to second place for now. So Ricky Slick is on 20 kilograms compared to 80 of our championship leader, Brenton Foley. Brendon Ross also on 80 points as well. And it looks like, in fact, Gary Neville, that last lap might have made up a little bit of time. Yep, was a tenth faster. Despite having, as we see Coulson up the inside of Turmo. Turmo having to get out of it. Very, very late move from Mike Coulson, but he's made it stick. And now he's got Gary Neville, fellow Englishman, and could say championship rival for these two. Both very close together in the championship now after Gary Neville's fine result in the first race. They're next to each other in the championship standings and on the racetrack now. So the two Englishmen are going to be going at it. And with all that battling going on, Brendon Ross right there behind them as well. And Steve Bolger still continues to keep Wayne Whitmore behind. Whitmore hasn't had a good exit out of the final turn. And that's going to allow Ross just eke away a little bit. But Turmo didn't get a great exit as well. So he's dropped back just a little bit. And just looking at the lap times, despite all the battling, Coulston and this group have been fairly consistent in the mid and low 15s. So these guys are doing a good job despite battling it out. They haven't dropped too far behind Foley and Slick either. As we see, Whitmore has now finally got past Steve Bolger. So we'll cut to a replay and see how that has happened. So it looks like he's just been close enough out of the final turn. And it doesn't look like Steve Bolger goes defensive. No, he doesn't. And Whitmore just looks like he's going to send it up the inside. Very late on the brakes. Bolger gave him the space. Good respect between the two. And Wayne Whitmore now up into 8th place. So he's now able to close in on Brendon Ross. As we see, once again, Turmo and Coulston side by side. Coulston defensive. Turmo very late on the brakes trying to go around the outside at S. Not going to be able to do it. Now trying to get him on the switch back again. Not going to be able to do it. Did have a... Looked like he's going to have a look into the final corner inside, but again, not quite close enough. In fact, he's dropped back just a little bit, as has Mike Coulson. That's allowing Gary Neville just to eke away a little bit as Turmo and Coulson continue to duke it out. And it is 1:16.4 for Coulson, so not a very good lap. So it was lauding their consistency, and on that lap, not a very good one for those guys. Now the battle for second place continues. Ricky Slick doing a fine job holding on. He is holding on for now. Dwayne Davies is well up the road. He's 10.3 seconds in front of Foley, as you can see. 10.1 in front of Ricky Slick. So a big gap between first and second. Obviously Davies did start on the front row after finishing at the back. Towards the back of the field in race 1 there after he pulled over despite battling for the lead. As you see Foley having a look up S, and that's sort of forced Slick into a slight mistake there, and now it's going to give Foley a run into the final corner, and it will, and he sticks it up the inside. Slick's got nowhere to go. Slick's going to try and go around the outside. He's going to try and do it, and he's got it, so he's got the good run. Foley didn't want to understeer wide and force Slick off the road. And Ricky Slick, fantastic driving, able to hold on around the outside. So these two side by side for quite a few corners there. And no contact at all. So fantastic driving between these two. And Ricky Slick able to get that position back after losing it for half a corner there. Behind them, Turmo has got past Mike Coulson. What has happened to Mike Coulson? So he's ended up behind, and he's pushed very hard on the exit, the final corner there, and ran wide and lost time. So we'll just actually cut back to a replay and see what has happened here. Alright, so he's having a look up the inside of Turmo. Looks like he's backed out of it at the fast corner. That's allowed Brendon Ross in behind to make a move into S. And then that sort of shuffled Coulson back. Anyway, cut back to live. He's 8/10 behind Brendon Ross still. And Brenton Foley has made it up past Ricky Slick, but Slick having a go at the second part of S, and now it's very wide at the final corner, but he's trying to get Get Foley back on the switchback. Foley straight to the inside to try and break the toe. Ricky Slick, as you can see, with that weight and the slipstream, much faster down the straight. So we should see Ricky Slick try a manoeuvre into turn 1. He's having a look. He's late on the brakes. Foley gives him the room. Foley doesn't want to DNF here and allow Ross to close up that big points gap that Foley's worked so hard to build up. But Foley holds on around the outside. He's got the inside for turn 2, and Slick, once again, denied. So good driving from Brenton Foley to hold on, but that weight costing Foley, as Slick has the inside for the hairpin. Slick on the inside, Foley trying to hold on around the outside. Now he's going to try and switch back, but he will be on the outside for the flat-out right-hander. And Foley will have to cede position for now. Looks like Slick actually had to get out of the throttle there, and now Foley trying to get him on the switchback. Once again, Foley now trying to go around the outside at S, and he's going to have the inside now. But now, for the final corner, Slick will have the inside, and there's that unweighted tyre once again, just bouncing across the ground. And Ricky Slick a bit wide there, had to get off the throttle a little bit, and Foley is right there. He's had the better exit, but he probably will lose a little bit of top speed when that weight starts to kick in. Slick forcing or squeezing Foley just a little bit. Foley having to switch back to the outside. He's going to try and go around the outside at turn 1. We have seen driver, well, I think it was Whitmore, make it stick around the outside. It was either Whitmore or Bolger. I can't remember, one of the two, but he can't do it on this occasion. Slick holds on for now. Foley's had a good exit out of turn 2, but he's going to have to go the long way at the hairpin. We have seen him make a move here early on in the race to hold on, but he's not quite close enough. You see Slick just forcing Foley wide just a little bit. Slick does not want to give this position up at all. He is fighting tooth and nail for second place. It's looking back, looks like might have been a slight change of position between Neville and Surmo. I do apologise for not being able to cover both battles going on. As you see Neville having a look up the inside of Turmo. He's not quite close enough, so he backs out of it. And Turmo holds on to P4 for now. So Turmo finally now up into P4. Now, looks like he's just broken away just a little bit in the final sector there. Can he close down that battle for second place there? That will be very interesting. 15.8 for turn 1 that last lap. As we see once again Slick and Foley side by side at turn 1. Foley's going to be close enough to hold on and make a move into turn 2, and he does get it done. And Slick trying to get him on the switch back, but there's nowhere for him to go. Now Foley doesn't go defensive into the hairpin. Still 3 minutes to go. If it was the last lap, I'm pretty sure he would, but with 3 minutes to go, he'll probably just bide his time. That's it. He's going to try and hold on around the outside, but not going to be able to do it this time around. But not far away though. Behind them though, Turmo hasn't had a good first sector, at least compared to Gary Neville, who has sort of stabilised that gap just a little bit. And then behind Gary Neville, Brendon Ross has closed in just a little bit. Mike Coulson is there as well. Bolger has got past Wayne Whitmore once again. They're 6.2 behind Coulson. If these two weren't battling, they'd probably be behind that battle. They'd probably be right behind Mike Coulson as very, very wide were Bolger and Whitmore there. Ahead of them though, Coulson still behind Brendon Ross. Gary Neville is in the slipstream of Turmo. 15.4 for Neville, 15.6 for Turmo. And once again, Foley and Slick side by side through turn 1. In fact, they still pulled about 0.4 of a second on Turmo and Neville, despite these two being obviously battling it out. So I don't know how they're doing it, but still able to find just a little bit of time to those behind them. Behind them, though, Gary Neville having a look at the hairpin to Turmo, and he will get that done. So Turmo just a little bit too wide there in the mid-corner, couldn't get on the power early enough, and Gary Neville back up to P4. Behind them, looks like Mike Coulson's just dropped off the back just a little bit as you see Gary Neville run wide. runs wide, and he will cede position. So he finally got that P4 back, and then loses it a corner later. And now he's going to have to fend from Brendon Ross, who's not had a good weekend. He hasn't had a good couple rounds in the touring car, AMSL's Touring Car Championship. So it's down in 6th place. Behind them, Bolger and Whitmore continuing to duke it out. To apologise for not being able to cover these guys. These guys have had an absolute ding-dong battle as well. As you see, Whitmore set his personal best on that last lap, and it will help him get in front of Bolger into turn 1. Bolger has a little bit of slide in the mid-corner. We've had a car go round. There's Mike Coulston. Well, maybe he hasn't gone round, but there was a bit of smoke. And he's dropped off the back just a little bit of Brendon Ross. As you see, Gary Neville make a very ambitious manoeuvre, and he sent Turmo around at the hairpin. Both of them into the barrier. And Coulston a little bit wide there as well. But that is a gift for Brendon Ross. So that moves him up to P4. He really needed that one, as now Ricky Slick holds on in front of him. So time has struck triple zeros. As you see, Dwayne Davies comfortably in the lead. This will be the final lap. So this is battling for sheep stations now. Unfortunate. Had great racing all night with no real serious contact. But yeah, that incident between Neville and Turmo, rather unfortunate. Killing that massive battle we had for 4th place there. That's it. Now the big battle is for P2. Probably a very interesting wider line for turn 2 there, but hasn't really netted him too much time. Ooh, a little bit of a lock up and a little bit wide there on the entry for Ricky Slick. It's allowed Foley to close the gap. Now we won't pick up the race leader across the start-finish line. I do apologise, Dwayne, but we do want to stick with this battle between Ricky Slick and Brenton Foley. Foley having a look, a big dive into S. Slick giving him the room, must have seen him coming in his mirrors. Good driving. Now he's going to try and go around the outside of the final turn, but Slick sees him coming. Bit of contact between Foley and Slick, as we see Dwayne Davies claim a race 2 victory. And Ricky Slick will hold on. A hard-fought battle between himself and Brenton Foley. But Ricky Slick will take it in the end. Brenton Foley, fine P3 for him. Brendon Ross, disappointing pace-wise, but he didn't get caught up in any incidents, and he takes P4. Mike Coulston, that little half mistake he made enabled him to avoid that incident between Turmo and Neville. So that moved him up to 5th place there at the end. Turmo P6, unfortunate for him, but he was part of a fantastic battle for a great portion of that race. Just an unfortunate end there for Turmo. Was in P4 when that contact was made. Wayne Whitmore did get the better of Steve Bolger in the end. They had a race-long battle there in race 2, and they were fairly close together towards the end of race 1 as well. So good racing for him. Gary Neville made that contact with Turmo, which is really was a bit of a shame, because it would have been good to see that battle go down to the final lap, and obviously not to cause any contact between the two and have both of them in the wall and take positions which really neither of them deserve. Neither of them deserve to be in down in 6th and 8th place. So that's where Gary Neville ended up. Steve Bolger, P9. Things looking good early on, but he sort of fell through the field as the faster guys made their way through the field and just didn't quite have the pace. But still, he had a race-long battle with Wayne Whitmore, but wasn't able to keep Whitmore behind him in the end. Then we have Cracker P10. Quiet race and quiet round for him. He'll be hoping to bounce back at the next round. And then Brian Walsh finishing both races this evening. He finished in 11th place, and we had Brownie retire on the first lap. I don't believe we picked that up, but still once again, some great racing. I do believe we had some great racing last season here at Guaporé, and once again we're gifted with some fantastic battles in both races. That second race in particular It was those three battles, obviously between Ricky Slick, and then we had the Turmo Gary Neville, Mike Coulston, and Brendon Ross battle, and then behind them you had the Whitmore and Bolger battle. So we had three battles all raging pretty much race long, giving us and the drivers some great entertainment, I am sure. But as we leave Guaporé, Brenton Foley will be the one that will have a big cheesy grin on his face as he extends the lead in both races now to give him, has to be said, with only 3 rounds remaining, pretty comfortable lead. But we have seen these big comfortable gaps come down in the last couple of rounds before. But we will cut to see a couple of the drivers this evening that have made their way into TV time. We'll cut to Dwayne Davies first. Obviously, congratulations on the very comfortable race 2 victory in the end, Dwayne. But you're having a massive battle. You had a solid qualifying effort in for race 1. You had a race long battle with Brenton Foley that would have gone down to the wire, but you pulled over on the side of the road there and sat there for 50 seconds. What happened? Did someone answer the door, or did you have a game issue? What happened there?
Yeah, cheers anyway for that. First race, the computer decided it wanted to go onto YouTube for some reason, which it's never done before. And so it went black and went onto YouTube, and I just pulled over trying not to hit anything. Didn't know where I was.
Yes, I do believe you that it was YouTube. But anyway, you showed some very good speed out there. Do you think in that first race you would have been able to get the better of Brenton Foley then? Because you did take the lead for a little while there, and then you sort of dropped behind him just a little bit after that.
Yeah, I once I got past him, braking marker into turn 1, and he got back past. But I think we were both. Well, I know I was definitely on the limit. So once I think it was going to be like that the whole way. Whoever could manage those tyres better was probably going to be the one.
Well, still, pretty good evening for you, even though you didn't pick up a great result in race 1 there. But you must be pretty happy with the pace you're able to get out of the car this evening.
Yeah, no, the car felt real good actually that track. So definitely happy with that. But just disappointed in the first race. Would like to have had that battle with Foley for sure.
Certainly still 10th place, but could have been on the podium and a win in the second race. Congratulations.
Thanks, Loss.
Alright, so we'll cut to trying to think. We'll cut to Ricky Slick. So Ricky, you had a couple interesting races there. Couple second places. Didn't quite have the pace to match the front runners, but you're able to extract the most out of your car and made the least amount of mistakes of anybody to sneak home some solid results.
Boy, I got to tell you, both them races, Ricky on the grass, son. Ricky got the bong out and got on some more grass, if you know what I mean.
Certainly, and Ricky loves grass. Well, with that, that's 3 consecutive second places. That's also with Dwayne's obviously not so good result in race 1 there. That's and your 2 second places. You've actually moved in front of him on 144 points in the championship compared to 141. Do you think you can hold on to um, third place in the championship there?
That boy ain't got a biscuit for old Ricky.
Certainly. But once again, congratulations and don't drink too much moonshine, eh?
Boy, you ever drink enough moonshine, you give me a call, I'll give you a smack upside the head.
Indeed. Well, once again, congratulations on your 2 second places.
Boys.
Alright, so we'll go to our race 1 winner and obviously podium getter in the second race there. Well, Brenton had an absolute ding-dong battle with Brenton Foley, not Brenton Foley, with Dwayne Davies in that first race. How are you feeling? Obviously, just before, obviously he had that issue. How do you think that ending of that race would have been?
Honestly, I reckon he might have had me. He was making me use my tyres a lot more than I wanted to, and the couple of times that he got ahead, so there might have been 1 or Might have been 2 times that he got ahead. He did pull a little bit of a gap before making a very slight mistake. So yeah, I'm not too sure if he would have driven away or not, but well, we definitely saw in race 2 that he had the pace. But yeah, it was a wicked battle. I was very much enjoying it, and yeah, honestly don't know how it would have ended up. I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that I reckon he would have won.
It certainly would have been a very, very entertaining finish, no doubt. But still, able to pick up the win, vital for your championship hopes. And then again, another good result in the second race. But you obviously couldn't quite close down Dwayne in the second because you had that Alabama native moonshine drinking redneck continue to, well, he made it very difficult for you to get past and stay ahead.
Oh, I didn't think even if I had got ahead of him that I would have been able to catch Dwayne there. The gap was way too big, but me and Ricky had a bloody awesome battle for a good 15 minutes at least. I reckon we were side by side for that would be over 10 times. We went half through quite a few corners side by side, barely without making any contact. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was picked up. We did pick up quite a lot of that on the stream, so I'm sure you guys will both enjoy that when you obviously have your debrief later on. And it was good to see. Obviously, there were some late manoeuvres attempted, but still, despite that, you guys are able to use your mirrors and avoid contact. And yeah, side by side for pretty much 15 minutes there and no contact. So some really good racing between those two. So were you sweating a little bit towards the end of that one?
I was trying to set up the move a couple of times right at the end, but he knew my strengths by the end of that battle, and I knew his, and he parked that car perfectly that I couldn't utilize my strengths, which was kind of, I don't know, the corner numbers, like number 5 or 6, the big right-hander where you're flat. Straight after that was my strength, ducking down the inside, but he managed to hold me on the outside every time. No, it was a wicked battle.
Well, certainly one we hope continues throughout the rest of the season. Still, congratulations on your first and third this evening.
Thanks very much.
All right, so that is pretty much the top 3 done and dusted for the evening. We do hope you've enjoyed the broadcast, and for those that do watch later on, we do hope you've enjoyed the racing. Just to go over a couple things that are going on around Automobilista Australia. You do have the TCAC that Brock is running. I do believe that is this Wednesday off the top of my head. I always mix this up. But just try and find the calendar. Yes, we got Ibarra. So the TCAC on Wednesday from Ibarra. That's one that we've raced at a couple times in the Touring Car Championship, as well as in a couple other series like the Rookie Cup, as well as the Farmers 400. So that'll be on Wednesday night. Don't have any Sunday series running at the moment, but we do have, I think one round. Yes, we do have one round of the F3 series remaining. That is next Monday. Just going to try and find information on which track that is. I cannot remember it. Yes, that's at Interlagos. So that is the Grand Prix circuit driving the F3s. So we do hope we get a decent sized field out and have some good racing once again. But just a bit of information. Obviously, the next round of the Touring Car Championship in 2 weeks will be from Eastern Creek / Sydney Motorsport Park. That will be the shorter layout. So let me just try and remember. I think it's the Gardiner layout. No, the Druitt. We'll be running the Druitt layout of that one. So lap time is about a minute long, and it's the first of our 2 Australian races, with the penultimate round of the championship coming from Adelaide in 4 weeks' time, and then the finale at Interlagos once again with the cafe layout. So hopefully we get another championship decided. Hopefully Brendon Ross does punt Brenton Foley a couple of times just to cause a bit of controversy and get himself back in the hunt for the championship. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this broadcast, and Have a good one.